We've had a hell of a couple of weeks, but I did get some exciting news this weekend. According to a new poll from YouGov, which is a serious polling site, or they were before this, I am more popular than the President of the United States. Thank you. Oh, thank you.
Okay, let me just read this here. Donald Trump walked into an arena that holds 20,000 people and 19,999 people were so happy. And then there was Bill Burr's wife. Yeah, and I love how people are like, oh, how can you do that? It's like, well, he's racist. He likes to sort of plagiarize some Hitler stuff every once in a while. Like, what is surprising that a black woman wouldn't like him? I don't like the guy. My wife giving him the finger is what I love about my wife. Do you know where you stand with her? And you can't say that about a lot of people.
It's open season in the comedy world, and Jimmy Kimmel and Bill Burr are tag-teaming the roast of the century. Their target: the man who treats humility like a contagious disease and truth like a bad investment, Donald Trump. He's been so busy campaigning from the Oval Office, it now looks like a reality TV set with better lighting. Kimmel fires the first shot, Burr delivers the knockout, and what's left of Trump's ego could fit inside a thimble designed for ants.
Well, I have some bad news. Our government is now officially shut down because we don't have funding to pay the federal workers. Trump really is running the country like it's one of his businesses. He said he would. Just to give you some perspective, the government being shut down is even worse than when it's up.
If you're enjoying this video, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon. You'll need it because Kimmel and Burr waste no time turning the president into comedy gold. Kimmel paints Trump as a man who thinks volume equals wisdom. Watching him give a speech feels like watching a blender try to explain economics. Burr piles on, calling Trump's confidence the eighth wonder of the world, a miracle of self-assurance completely detached from reality. Together they turn every press briefing into tragicomedy, a place where logic checks out before the cameras even turn on.
Later, that tried to viciously attack the president this week. Have you been enjoying Trump's most ridiculous distraction from the Epstein files yet? The president claims he's the victim of a triple sabotage during his visit to the United Nations building in New York on Tuesday. The teleprompter wasn't working, there were issues with the sound system, and most nefariously of all, his escalators.
They zero in on his obsession with crowd sizes, the sequel nobody asked for. Trump could be alone in a cornfield and still swear millions were watching. Kimmel jokes he measures success by how many flags he can wave per sentence, while Burr adds the only wall Trump ever built successfully was between himself and reality. The roast doesn't need flames, Trump's own words keep the fire burning.
Brunt of the effect of the shutdown, it will be felt right here in New York. To punish you for disliking him, Trump is putting $18 billion worth of New York City infrastructure projects, like the new rail tunnels under the Hudson and the 2nd Avenue subway project, on hold to make sure the money isn't being used to support DEI.
Next comes the economy, Trump's favorite trophy, the one he claims he built from genius but maintained through luck. Burr compares it to a Jenga tower built from tweets and wishful thinking. Kimmel reminds everyone that when things started wobbling, Trump blamed everyone but himself, the Fed, the media, maybe even the moon. Burr quips that if Trump's business sense were a movie, it'd be Titanic, and he'd still brag about how great the iceberg was for ratings.
That's not a sane human being. I would have been on the ground crying in the fetal position, like, all right, give me the truck. I don't want this job anymore. But Trump's got all those weird, coming out. I think the guy couldn't get like a bead on him, And like right as he pulled the trigger, Trump was just like, and Sleepy Joe, and the bullet went by his head.
Then come his endless media feuds. Kimmel points out that Trump turned fake news into an art form, a magical spell that makes inconvenient facts vanish. Burr follows up, he treats journalists the way toddlers treat vegetables. If he doesn't like it, it must not exist. Reality isn't Trump's enemy, they say, it's just the only one he keeps losing to.
It says they think it was Trump's own videographer that accidentally kicked a safety mechanism, but Agatha Christie and his team of defective detectives, they do not believe it. They are on the case. This was not just a minor incident. This was a harrowing escape.
Trump and Melania were riding it up, and it just stopped. Thankfully, the First Lady and the President had their hands on the rail as they were going up the escalator.
I've never known an escalator to be stopped. I go on escalators all the time. That's when I'm happiest. On it.
Kimmel dives into Trump's social media addiction, the most chaotic diary in presidential history. The man tweets like he's racing against sleep. Burr jokes that if you took away his phone, he'd start issuing executive orders via skywriting. The blend of insecurity and Wi-Fi has made Trump the world's loudest online troll. They move to his image obsession. Burr calls his hair a national security threat with highlights. Kimmel says it's the only thing in Washington that's twisted more times than his policies. Together they agree this presidency plays like a never-ending season finale. Chaos isn't a side effect. It's the brand.
But he made a major announcement. I am ordering my administration to declassify and release all government records related to Amelia Earhart. Her final tip and everything else about her. Thank you for your attention to this matter. We had no attention to that matter.
Foreign policy. That's Burr's playground. He mocks Trump for treating diplomacy like open mic night, flattering dictators, insulting allies, and calling it strategy. Kimmel adds that Trump's idea of peace talks sound like Yelp reviews, loud, defensive, and entirely about himself. On climate, Kimmel says Trump treats global warming like a liberal hoax started by the weather, while Burr jokes he sees pollution as patriotism in the air. They move to the rallies, his therapy sessions disguised as patriotism, where Trump recharges by basking in applause he can control.
I'll be honest with you, I can't believe Trump didn't win this thing like 4 months ago. I know that's weird for younger people to hear, but when I was a kid, if you were running for president and you got shot and you didn't die, that was the end of the election. There was nothing you could say. Everybody would just be like, this guy's the man. He is the king. I'll be honest with you, I think the number one reason Trump survived is all those herky jerks.
Then comes Trump's demand for loyalty. Kimmel calls it a cult that forgot its purpose halfway through. Burr says Trump expects devotion from everyone and offers it to no one. It's loyalty theater starring Trump as both director and only audience member. They roast his love-hate with Hollywood, the man who craves celebrity approval but resents their existence. Burr says he name-drops actors like a teenager desperate to sound cool. When the country panicked, Trump posed. When the law called, he dodged. According to Kimmel, his approach to subpoenas is simple: mark as spam and move on.
She walks on it, it stops, she turns around to the president, and she just leads the president up and walks. So she was unfazed by it. But this could have been a massive issue. And the president being frozen there in one place makes him vulnerable.
Yeah. Unless he can walk, then they act like they dropped him into shark-infested waters. It was an escalator. You know what another word for frozen escalator?
Burr adds that Trump treats the Constitution like just another contract to renegotiate. Together they paint a president juggling court dates and campaign rallies, turning accountability into theater. Kimmel calls his relationship with truth the longest breakup in American history. Burr adds that Trump treats honesty like a dentist appointment, avoided until it's unbearable. Every statement is interpretive dance. Every fact negotiable. Kimmel compares the White House to a family-run reality show, a reboot of Succession minus the competence.
Have you been notified by Trump to interview Trump? Would you interview Trump?
No, and I wouldn't interview a Democrat either.
Yeah.
I don't want to know those people. My job is to make fun of them.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah, and the same thing with an award show. Why the fuck would you ever host an award show? Your job as a comic is to make fun of an award show. Why would you go there?
I know.
I mean, I shouldn't say that. I mean, if that's something you want to do, because that is a big.
And some people are good at it.
There we go. We bought it back.
Yeah.
We bought it back.
Kimmel brings up Trump's habit of declaring victory over everything, even gravity, if he could. Burr says it's like watching someone crown themselves marathon champion without running a step. Every loss, conspiracy, every setback, someone else's fault. Then comes Infrastructure Week, the political Bigfoot. Everyone's heard of it, no one's ever seen it. Burr calls it Trump's most ambitious, unbuilt project since his business empire. Together they show how every rally feels like a greatest hits tour, louder, angrier, and somehow less coherent each time. The border wall. Kimmel calls it the world's most expensive metaphor, one that couldn't even keep reality out.
You remember the guy who keeps saying I have no ratings? Well, that makes two of us. They polled more than 1,000 people, and I lead Trump by 16 points. I'm at +3, he's at -13. It's nice, but it feels like, considering the fact that I'm not a convicted felon friend of Jeffrey Epstein, and I've never paid off a porn star or sent a team of masked goons into a park to pull an old lady away from her grandchildren, I feel like my rating should be higher, maybe, than at this point finding a tone.
Burr adds that the wall was less security, more performance art, a monument to stubbornness. They mocked Trump's contradictions, the self-proclaimed genius thriving on chaos. Kimmel calls it leadership by lottery. Burr says if competence were contagious, Trump would still test negative. His speeches. Kimmel calls them abstract art you can't unhear. Burr says they sound like fortune cookies written by a broken chatbot. Every tragedy became a photo op, proof that empathy had left the building.
Dude, he is the greatest shit talker of all time. He sat at like $100,000 breakfast while the president trashed him. Humiliated.
This is a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I'm jumping around.
White House Correspondents' Dinner, yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for giving it structure.
Yeah.
Humiliated the guy.
Right.
My wife would love you. You should sit next to me during brunch. She never knows what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Sits there, the guy totally trashes him. He's absolutely humiliated. And within like 2-3 years, he had that guy's job.
Right.
So you could never talk shit to him. Going, hey, Donald, one time I was in a bar and this guy came in, oh, really? One time I was sitting, I paid $100,000 for breakfast. The President Trump, President, the hell's his name? Barack?
Obama.
Yeah, Obama.
Yeah. I'm giving you structure now.
Yeah.
Obama.
He trashed me, and 2 years later I had a fucking job.
Finally, the golf trips. Kimmel calls them Trump's most consistent domestic policy. Burr says the man treats the presidency like a weekend hobby between rounds. The only wall he ever finished was around his golf courses. They roast his endless campaign rallies, part performance, part therapy, all ego. Kimmel says Trump's been running for re-election since day one. Burr adds he's not a president, just a brand ambassador for himself. They close the roast with a truth that stings. Trump wanted a legacy carved in marble but ended up immortalized in memes. The roast ends, but the laughter doesn't, because as long as Trump keeps talking, the comedy writes itself.